Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Tina from tinahills.com, and this video is also about Saturn and how Saturn impacts you. How Saturn is placed in your chart will truly determine a lot about your life and how you experience reality. So Saturn, we know, is confinement, is restriction, is being formal. Saturn is very formal because Saturn deals with things like the corporatocracy. Saturn deals with the legislature, the judiciary. So these are very formal enterprises. So Saturn is not your cool dude and formal guy. He's very old style, very traditional, and likes things to be done with a sense of duty, responsibility, diligence. So the other day I watched a video by this guy Vishal Lakhani from Mind Valley, and his video starts off by saying, do you think you can get success by working hard in life? Well, let me break it to you, you don't. Now, as I watched that video, I stood still because that is not something Saturn is going to be happy about. Vishal Lakhani from Mind Valley, if you're listening. So Saturn does not adhere or subscribe to that point of view that you need to work smart and not work hard, because Saturn teaches you how to work hard. Okay, and Saturn teaches you how you can pivot your way with discipline, pivot your way through 3D, because he holds the keys to the 3D. That's why he's also the Grim Reaper, and Saturn is very much about giving us those harsh lessons that we do not want to consume. So what happens if Saturn is on your ascendant? It gives you a very serious outlook towards life. You will definitely not subscribe to Vishal Lakhani saying you don't need to work hard, you need to work smart. No matter how smart you are, that's mercurial, but you cannot achieve success or complete without hard work, determination, and focus. So Saturn on your ascendant can be very difficult for the first 30 years, for instance, okay? And you may feel like, okay, everything you do, there's constriction. Your physical body can be, constricted and restricted in some way. There could be accidents, there could be, disasters, because the ascendant is your physical body. It's basically how you interface with the world. It is the Jungian mask. So Saturn, sharing his energy through your ascendant, which is your interface with the world, that means you will come across as Saturnian. So you may even look older than your age. So if you're 29, you could look like 32 or 39. You don't look very youthful. Contrast that with Mercury on the ascendant, or Venus on the ascendant. Very beautiful, very youthful. So Saturn definitely does not make you look like that, because Saturn is the archetype of the elderly, the old man. So you immediately look mature. You don't have a very jokey, feely, touchy-feely way about you, because Saturn is icy cold. So if you were to fall into Saturn, and if you were to, experience Saturn, you would freeze to death. So this is not like Mars, which burns you to death. Saturn is the greater malefic, Mars is the lesser malefic. So having Saturn on your ascendant can be very restrictive, even in speech. You can be very shy. You can be very, may want to be secluded. You don't want to be like, some crazy social butterfly. Even the way you dress will be very formal. It won't be like, oh yeah, you have to pick up the latest trends. No. You may even be very, responsible with your life too. Of course, you can take it to an extreme, and you can, be so responsible that you miss the joys of life and you forget carpe diem, or seize the day. Because honestly, although we live many incarnations, but you live this life once. So why waste it? So too much of Saturn could be a challenge, and too less of Saturn could be all talk and no F. Okay, so there has to be a balance, right? Saturn in the second could mean restrictions with resources and finances, or even you feeling like you never have enough, because no matter how hard you try, you feel like you never have enough. Or maybe you've got some money put away and you feel so complacent about it that you don't really strive to go out there and get noticed and get a promotion, or launch your own business, because you feel like, no, I have enough. Or if you have a latent talent, or even if the talent is not so latent and you work with the talent but you already have a job, but Saturn in your second house may inhibit you from leaving that job because of that financial security and jumping into something new, okay, which you could be really good at, but you don't want to take that risk. Now, Saturn in the third, problems with automobiles till you are 29, accidents, just generally automobiles falling apart, or you're not being able to keep them. The upkeep becomes too expensive. Problems with siblings, neighborhood issues, problems with neighbors, third house is neighbors, short distance travel problems, sibling issues, networking issues, communicating issues. Actually, everything we do mostly is third house oriented. Even money is no more solid money like currency or gold anymore. It's ones and zeros in the computer, in a binary computer system. So all these problems with this, but of course you could be the mentor of your sibling as well, especially if there's a family problem and you have to grow up before time. Saturn in the third, Saturn in the fourth as well. Your mother could be very strict, your family, your father could be very strict, and the way you are as a father could be very strict, harsh, disciplinarian, cold, detached. You want your children to follow a very rigorous traditional regime and don't give them that freedom, because Saturn is doesn't like to give freedom. So after your Saturn returns at the age of 29 to 30, everything becomes easier as far as Saturn goes, because you truly understand his lessons a lot better. Saturn in the fifth could have you attracted to older men, sugar daddy types, and not just sugar daddy types, but you want an older man who will provide for you. Or you could also play the Saturn, of course. But women with displacement tend to fall in love with older men. They have an attraction for older men. Constrictions with romances, and romances just don't take off, and if they do, they're usually long term. Saturn in the fifth does not like to mess around, not like amorously going humping around like rabbits, but likes commitment, likes a serious relationship. Saturn in the sixth can be problematic with health. Sixth house also hidden enemies, so that side, Saturn can definitely exacerbate and amplify those difficult house expressions, because sixth house is a very difficult house to deal with mostly. Although it's a cadent house, it's a success. It's a succedent house, and I messed up the pronunciation 3 times today. Succedent house, and because fourth house becomes angular and succedent and then cadent. So Mercury has gone retrograde in shadow. I think, and the shadow period can be, and I have 12th house Mercury conjunct Saturn. So I mean, there you go. So you see what I mean, that for instance, if you have Saturn in the sixth, you could have problems with health, all kinds of problems, okay? And you need to find more folks. Sixth house is also the house of pets. So, problems with pets, or maybe you care for pets. Saturn is also care service, so maybe you care for pets, multiple pets. Saturn in the sixth could also see you work life, very disciplined in your work life. Sixth house is the house of day-to-day work. Now Saturn in the seventh can see you marrying the Saturnian type, who could be a miser depending on the aspects. but again, who could be a miser, who could be like someone who likes to control you, because Saturn could also be control, power, hegemony. Very interesting thing is, I just read online that the meeting of Pluto and Saturn in Capi was like a double star that evokes the death wish of Thanatos, or the death drive. You know, Eros being the love drive. So now Saturn in the eighth. Saturn in the eighth can mean you get a substantial inheritance at a later stage in life. Saturn in the eighth could also mean you become a detective or a psychologist. Okay, sexual issues, erectile dysfunctions, and all of that. And you like to be committed with Saturn in the eighth. Don't get into trouble with the law. Saturn in the eighth could also mean a long life. Okay, but then again, the quality of life. It could be a very difficult but long life. Saturn in the ninth, difficulties with foreign travel till at least 29. Difficulties with higher education. If you really manage to not get stuck in the difficulties, then you can really achieve a lot with Saturn in the ninth and higher education, and really maybe even becoming a PhD or a postdoctoral or something like that. And foreign travel can be very challenging, and you could always, feel like you're the outsider and you're not being taken in, because Saturn also is icy cold and detached. But you could also find a Saturnian type of mentor, I think, if you're lucky, if your Saturn is in a good place. Okay, and ninth house is a good house. Ninth house is one of those precious houses of spirituality, philosophy. Sorry, 12th house spirituality, but ninth house also spirituality and religion. Okay, because it's after all Jupiter's domain, has to do with spirituality too. Now Saturn in the 10th. Okay, problems in the work life, but if you are the boss of your own business, if you figured out how to hone your talent, Saturn in the 10th is meant for government top officials, top government officials, okay, politicians. You are really recognized for being the archetype of Saturn in your community. Okay, it can even mean worldwide fame with Saturn. Correctly worked Saturn in the 10th provides tremendous blessings. But remember, Saturn is not like Jupiter. There are no empty promises. You get what you give. If you put in the input, output. Saturn is very fair. Now, Saturn in the 11th. Now, 11th house is a very, very positive house. It is the house of joy and gifts from the universe. This is the place where Jupiter finds his joy in the planetary joys, and Saturn, of course, finds his planetary joy in the 12th. But this place for Saturn is very precious, because it could mean you become a solid leader in communities far and wide. And okay, 11th house is friends, so there could be problems with friends initially, and large groups. You may feel scared, or you can have anxiety disorders. You don't want to go in front of too many people, talk in front of too many people. You're not sure of what you're going to say, all of that. But once you conquer the initial Saturnian impulses of the negative impulses, then you truly become a leader and you truly shine. You can even go to the top of your communities, your whatever 11th house activities you do, because larger friends and communities. Saturn in the 12th is where Saturn has his joy, because Saturn is the great malefic, and 12th house is the house of mischief. But honestly, Saturn in the 12th can be a very, very difficult expression. I have that. It could mean your father was never available for you the way you expected, or something happened with your father, and maybe you were adopted, or somehow the person who was supposed to care for you is not caring for you. Okay, father figure, problems with father figures also could happen, especially you have a conjunction with Sun there. Now, Saturn in the 12th could mean you get in trouble with the law, but it could also mean that you help people in a very positive way as a healer, or as a psychologist. Because as I said, Saturn in the sixth may not be that you're sick all of the time. It could mean that you are taking care of the sick, because with Saturn there is this innate need to serve, so you can help, so you can even the negative vibrations of Saturn, it's there's a self-righteousness to this. Think of that, the self-righteousness that Saturn has, because I know this because there's this inherent memory within Saturn in your natal chart of what he knows, and because he's playing to us this music that is emanating, and we are experiencing this reality through the seventh sphere. So it's difficult, not romantic, especially if you have Saturn in the fifth. You may not be a romantic, or you may not find a person who's romantic, in the sense that you may want a romantic mate if you have a Venus placement and some Cancer, and maybe Venus in Pisces. So maybe if you have a moon in Cancer, say you want romance, but you have that Saturn in the fifth. So it's always sort of keeping that difficult expression from you. And Saturn in the 12th could also, as I said, mean mental institutions, you working with mental patients, or you being a mental patient in an asylum. 12th house is the ruler of asylums, and also drowning, and deceit and lies and all of that, illusions, secrets. So if you're not doing your Saturnian karma and you get caught before the age of 25 for any opiates or anything like, anything that's illegal, that could be a difficult Saturn in the 12th. That transit could mean incarceration sometimes, okay? And Saturn in the 12th can also give you a spiritual awareness and the ability to do something solid with it. Saturn in the 12th gives you the power to study solitary. Wherever Saturn sits on your chart, it gives you the impetus to go solitary, go serious, okay, go alone, okay. Tagore has this song, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে. It means if nobody responds. It was written for the Indian independence, one of the songs that he wrote. It means if nobody hears your cries and does not go forward with you, it doesn't matter, you go alone. This is Saturn. যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে. So একলা চলো, walk your path, forge your path, not in a Martian conflicting, crazy, fiery way, but to meticulously ponder, plan, but not to the detriment of everything that you plan so much that you don't get anything, you don't lift anything off, everything just stays in that concrete, grounded stage. It's important to ground, and Saturn teaches us how we can ground our crazy impulses. Saturn in the third could also be very helpful to still the monkey brain, because this is Gemini's domain, Mercury's domain. So there's always this mental chatter that's happening, Saturn can help you still that in the third house. And that was it, a bit about how Saturn plays a role in your natal chart. How he's placed will determine a lot and can show you a lot. So if you're planned and prepared, you will know how to work with Saturn or Shani. Saturday today, basic planetary magic, and working with I have developed a very special connection of working with the planetary daimons or spirits and invoking them each day on their day and doing special rituals and prayers, affirmation and incantations for them. And that's why I like to do my work and give Saturn his regular offerings. And this is my second offering to him today. Please check out my other videos on Saturn and let me know what you think. Book a session and like, subscribe, share. Thank you.